Good evening, Wildmount. That was totally messed up because I kept hearing the music and I forgot that I didn't mute the stream. So, hi everyone! Welcome to episode 104 of Critical ReRoll, where we talk about episode 28 of Critical Role. My name is Dustin at GeoNerd on Twitter, and I think I could be a better rogue than not.
Hi, I'm Jess, or go_JG on Twitter, and I think this new character seems like a fun guy.
Oh.
I warned you! Warned you it was bad.
I'm liking where this is going.
Oh no. And I'm Ben, Bardic Puppy on Twitter, and I don't come up with funny intros.
That's funny!
That's good.
Nope. Incorrect, I can't. So.
Alright, well, now that we got all of, that out of the way. Episode 28. Exciting. Lots of things happened. We got to finally meet the weirdo in the woods.
Yeah.
Which, come on, we all knew the weirdo in the woods was Taliesin's character.
I hadn't clued into, I didn't remember them getting that advice to go into the woods, personally. So I the first time around I was watching it, I was like, why are they doing this again? And then I realized it's because they were like, okay, we're gonna need help. What kind of help do we want? Well, we don't have healing spells. Let's go for the healer person. And I was like, oh, on my rewatch, it took the second time around to figure it out. That's why they went there.
Healing is sometimes needed in a party. So.
I guess depends on what you're
tiny little.
Yeah. Yeah, but two of the biggest things that happened that episode were they got a new character, and then they made a plan to infiltrate a thing, and then the plan fell to shit. That happens.
But and I think I want to talk about kind of like this. I kind of want to talk about, when we get to that part, I kind of want to talk about groups as Dungeon and D&D planning, and how much do you take hints from your DM? Because there was a lot of things that they were offered from Matt as a way to tackle this, especially because we know that Lorenzo and his crew, the Iron Shepherds, weren't the nicest, or not the easiest beaten, because they did manage to kill Mollymock.
Rip.
But there were some solid things that went through here, and even, which is another thing that I want to talk about because wizards are cool, the mocking of the idea about the spider, and then the spider ending up being very key. So I think we'll just start off from the beginning, or as my geology professor once said, or always would say, let us begin at the beginning. She pronounced things weird. And kind of go with they're in the Sevelin. That's it? Sevelin Wood, or the Civilian Wood? Not Civilian Wood, but they're sort of yeah. So the woods. They head off to the woods. They sort of kind of have an idea. They don't know what they're doing. They make a couple plans. They talk about going back to town. To possibly hire help. But then they decide, I think it was Bo who was like, well, do we really want to go around town saying that we want to attack the Iron Shepherds? Because we know that the Iron Shepherds kind of control the town, and if the wrong person overheard us, that could end up being bad for us. Which I was conflicted about this, because I felt that they should attack the Sour Nest with a lot more people.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, we know that they did do so well the first time, and then there are less people, and it was very stressful for me because I don't want it to be K. and I want them to like plan. And Matt had like kind of said that, hey, there's some gangs that you could possibly hire, and this is kind of like, you know, a lawless town with a multiple factions kind of not really working against each other, but I mean it's a hotbed of volatility because you have all of these cells of shady people doing shady things in a place called Shady Run. Yes.
So they spent a lot of time trying to figure out what they wanted to do, whose help they wanted to enlist, and I thought that they brought up a lot of points in this. They had a big discussion about it. It would probably took the first half hour, in my opinion, of just getting to make a decision of where they want to go. And I think that's really good role playing right there. Is that they don't just all go with one person's idea, the first one that's thrown out, and just be like, yeah, that works. Because they seriously followed what their characters would want to do, which was cool. But at the same time, sometimes just watching that can be like, make a decision. Come on.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
in the history of Critical Role and planning sessions, this one was fairly short. They did the thing they finally decided on, and it mostly worked until it didn't.
Yes.
Which all plans end up going that way.
Yeah.
But I, as a watcher and a thing, I was really hoping that they would bring more punch, just because Matt had done such a good job of making the Iron Shepherds feel like a threat, especially Lorenzo, that I was worried that if they didn't go in there with enough like people, that it would not go that great, especially because they're going into the den and close quarter combats and no places to run, and like how many people are like really do we know are in there? So
yeah. It also kind of comes down to how sneaky they wanted to be and how they wanted to go about actually taking care of the Iron Shepherds. They couldn't. We learned last time that trying to take them all on at once is a bad idea. And kind of skipping forward to what ended up happening was that they actually faced one of the Iron Shepherds, just the barbarian, by themselves. That was probably the best thing that could have happened, is that only one came up. Because they got to take care of one and then reorganize themselves to take care of the rest, as opposed to that one being part of a huge another battle which plays more roles. You take them out one at a time. That's less numbers that they have for the final battle.
yeah, I mean it almost seems
And
like their plan, while it didn't go that great, actually went like they planned it.
yes.
Yeah, like I was worried. I feel like as it was happening, as much as we've seen, as far as they've gotten so far, it's gotten very well because they did in fact. I mean, the original like taking down the guards outside was so quick and fast. Like it took a minute for them to do in our time, but that was like bullet time. Like literally, it was like crossbow, javelin, crossbow, body falls down, already dead. Like that was all like so fast. And then they went in, they dealt with. Like you said, the barbarian, and for a second I wondered if there was going to be more of an issue there, because that was the only one that Keg told us from the beginning that like she thought was one of the like maybe the okayest of these not good people. But I think that Keg has spent enough time with this group that her allegiance is fully with them already. And then even when they were, you know, at the cages dealing with like Neela's family, I was like, oh my god, someone's gonna walk in, someone's gonna walk in, but they like dealt with that situation and it went well. So I think the whole episode things went better for them than I necessarily thought they might.
Yeah, so they end up deciding that they're gonna go talk to one of the crazy people in the woods that they've kind of a few members of Shadow Creek Run? No. Shady Creek Run have said, oh yeah, I mean if you're looking for some weird magic people, we got plenty of them out there in the weird magic wood. And so they head out north. And I thought this was really cool because we kind of got the sense that something was wrong with this forest, and then as they get closer to where they're heading, we see that it looks like whatever's cursed this forest has a little bastion of uncursedness in this like really cool, like to think of it like this tiered walled city, as like they've walled off the corruption and then it's encroached a little more and they've walled it off again. And I loved the whole aesthetic of the thing they approached. And then they get up in there and we learn that there's just more aesthetic. And I don't know if Jess, if you want to start. They knock on a door and it opens to reveal.
You leaving this all to me?
Oh, you want to talk about him? I know how much you want to talk about him.
Oh, but that's like, because he's not that way immediately. Well, I mean, okay, so they meet a Furbolg, and immediately Neela is beside herself. She's like, all is well with the world because we just met another Furbolg. I love that. Like, she's like, I don't need to check anything else. I don't need my smell checks or anything. Like, everything is good. Things are going to go well now because it's another Furbolg. And I love the way he, like, for sure Taliesin was ready with this. Do you know what I mean? For sure Taliesin was ready with this, just like sort of like heavy exasperated sigh and like, well, I only have 3 more cups, so you're gonna have to share. And all of that. All of that. Amazing.
I did like that was his
like,
first words. Where it's just like, I only have 3 cups.
Yeah.
So it's interesting bringing in a new character to an ongoing campaign or an ongoing D&D session is not something necessarily unfamiliar to Critical Role if you watch season 1. It's something that can be heartbreaking at times because you know that there's a part of the puzzle you would originally put together is suddenly not there. But it also then adds a new section onto this puzzle that you didn't expect but can be wondrous. The way that Critical Role goes about approaching it is that they add it in when the story is right, and that's the first and foremost thing that they seem to focus on. Like, Taliesin sat out of an entire episode last time just because we didn't, like, it never got to it. And trying to force a character into that narrative can really disrupt the flow of the game, so I like what they did. And the way that they prep for a new character is great. If you look at how Caduceus Clay was introduced, there's a lot of variables that can happen to make him either a temporary character until possibly Molly Mock gets revived. We don't know if that's going to happen, but it also could mean that, like, he could be a permanent character. Say that this, like, corruption actually does overtake his graveyard. He has nowhere to go now, so he might as well travel. But that's all something that Matt can decide based on the circumstances. So it leaves it up into a place where anything can happen and it's all plausible to the story. And that's the best way that I've seen Critical Role be able to introduce a new character like that. And then another thing that I've noticed is that they do a great job, even though Taliesin said, like, has said in talks Machina and has said on different sources that, like, he had a couple nights where he didn't sleep because, like, he was thinking about this, and he was like, oh, now I have to put together a new character for this campaign when I had 6 months before to put together Mollymock. He did great. He knew exactly how he wanted to play this character, it seemed. Whether or not he did, that doesn't matter because he seemed like he did. So Clay became an instant favorite, especially among the Twitter art community, because of just his aesthetic and how he plays them. And I think that kind of goes sidelong into what Jess wanted to talk about, was the way that Caduceus really takes being a Grave Domain cleric to a different level.
We can talk about what I want to talk about afterwards, but I think this is a good time for one of our questions that we got. So guys, we do have we tweet it out every week after the episode. We do have a place for you guys to send your questions, and one of the questions we got fits really well right now. It was, can we talk about how Taliesin made a death cleric after the death of his character and not only upped the aesthetic, but how amazing is it that he could be working through his emotions with this class, and it fits really well. Like we're all so excited about that aesthetic, but there's so much fun stuff and flavor and interesting stuff in this class, the grave domain cleric. That's so interesting and like curious of like, did Taliesin read this class and go, oh damn, this could have saved Molly, this could have saved Molly, this could have saved Molly, or like, you know what I mean? Like what is he thinking in this? What is like this person asked, like, is it he can work through what he was feeling previously, but also just that aesthetic.
Well, yeah, and I think I like he had a character that dies, he comes instantly in with, I mean, he knows that they're out a jester. He comes in with this cleric, but then he chooses the grave domain, which just has this fun flavor, like the way Mr. Clay feels about like death and stuff. We can get to see how that works. I mean, we kind of get like a little bit of sense of it just through his aesthetic and where he lives and how he sees, you know, the blooming. It was the blooming field, or that it was called the blooming grove, or the boneyard. But I mean, I feel, I don't know Taliesin at all, but like it feels like a very Taliesin thing to do, to kind of maybe RP some like grave cleric, like think about death. Like the one thing that I would love is that Molly not get resurrected, but that we have Taliesin as Mr. Clay speak with dead on Molly to find out that Molly doesn't want to come back. But I just want, this is just me personally, I want Caduceus and Molly Mock to talk to each other, because I just want to see Taliesin RP RP that. Because how goth could you be, like, just talking to a former spirit of yourself?
Version of yourself?
It reminds me of campaign 1 with Tyrion and Scanlan trying to have a conversation. Never really happened.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other flip side of that, I actually hope that Molly Mock comes back. Not because I don't love Clay. I love Clay. But there's so much Molly Mock backstory I want to see. And I'm afraid that we're not going to see it if Molly Mock doesn't return.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily saying that he needs to come back, but I want an attempt to be made. I think that would be interesting to at least see a new dynamic of people try to resurrect somebody at a much lower level. And I'm still not sure how they're even going to do it, because no one, not even Clay, has the revival spells, correct?
No, he does.
The only thing he has is Revivify, correct?
He has Revivify. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, but the time for that's already elapsed.
Yeah, oh, you mean for Molly. Yeah, he doesn't have anything. And I think he specified that when they first started inquiring. And they were all like, can you sort of, do that sort of thing? And he was like, well, it's kind of limited window type situation. But like Dustin said, he could probably do Speak with Dead. We could get a hilarious conversation that way. I think it would be fun to have them go back to the grave with Clay or Caduceus eventually and have the body already be gone. Or something like that. I am curious, Kate. I love Clay. Like, I love what Clay gives us the option to do, what he gives us the option to explore. I am so excited personally about someone that gardens in a graveyard. I am so interested in that. It plays to so much of like my horticulture background.
You guys had been in here before the stream.
If you guys didn't, I feel sorry for these two. I was talking on and on about how interesting this is and how excited I am. Anyways, to cut myself off from that, I'm curious of if Caduceus is to Taliesin what Terry was to Sam, and like a known temporary character for the possibility of bringing back your other character, because I don't like people talk about like cheapening death and bringing back people cheapens death and stuff like that. But I think if anyone has a narrative that really allows for it, it's Molly. Molly has already come back from the dead. Like Molly already has so much reason, like story-wise, to come back. Whether like, and in fact, like how much fun is it to play on the losing one's memory again? Like there's so much there still. There's so much opportunity still, and like you said, Ben, there's so much we didn't get from Molly yet that I can't help but feel like Taliesin would like the chance to share with us, if possible. So I'm curious if that is what Clay is to Taliesin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't. Sorry.
Something that Uncle Luke also mentioned in the chat, with Jester coming back too. Like once Jester comes back, depending on what level she is, she also has a possibility of resurrecting Molly. So we have two possible backgrounds. So I'm curious to know exactly what is going to happen. And there's a possibility that even if they get a chance to revive him, he doesn't come back because either his soul isn't willing or because they roll low. We could finally get a roll that's less than the DC needed for Matt's resurrection ritual, which we've never seen before. And then suddenly a character's done. You can't try again. So there's a I bet Matt doesn't even know how this is going to play out because he doesn't know what he's going to roll if it even gets that far.
Mm-hmm.
And now here's how I feel about the death of Molly Mock. I love Clay. I might not make friends here, but I want Molly to stay dead. Because Molly showed a bunch of the Mighty Nein how he lives his life. And his death affected them. Especially with Bo saying how Molly said, I like to leave each town better than when I left it. And Molly being dead gives the impetus for a bunch of really good RP and character evolution towards being less of an asshole for Bo, learning how to trust people and know that people are going to die. And D&D, you could bring people back to life, and a lot of people feel like, but I want him to stay dead because I feel, one, I really like Caduceus more than I like Molly Mock. Molly Mock was fun and mysterious, and they could still pick up pieces, whatever. I mean, I like Nicholas Niventer in the chat did mention like he would make, if Molly did come back, he's the evil because he wants the memory loss to always be a thing, which I think is cool. But I like the idea of him staying dead because it gives them a reason to be better people. And we've seen the Mighty Nein as not the heroes that Vox Machina were, that we knew Vox Machina when we came into Critical Role. They're a mess. And I like the idea of Molly Mock being dead gives them an impetus to be less of a mess and more of a change for good in a world that's dark and at war, and we don't even know what Matt's endgame is in this whole thing. Like, we don't know what the big bad is, because if we think about even with Critical Role, we thought the Conclave was a big thing, but it really was Vecna the whole time. Like, spoilers, anyone who hasn't watched the first season is sorry. But like there were so many like big overarching things towards the end of his campaigns that, what's a red herring and what's not, and we're still so new at this and so young, and like they're not even the level that they were when the Critical Role started. But yeah. So sorry about that, but I like that as an idea that Molly stays dead as an impetus for these people to become better people if that's what they want.
Yeah, I do like that too. If Molly comes back, I literally want it to be that they don't even get to bring him back. They don't get to bring him back to life. They go back to the grave eventually, and he's already gone. And the next time they meet him, he's a different person. Like, that's the only situation I like for this, personally. But also, since we were talking about Caduceus and Molly and Jester, another question we got, thanks to whoever sent this, guys. You can put, if you want, you can put your like Twitter tags on here and we will call out to you. A few of the questions we got were missing names, so sorry to whoever sent this one. But someone did say, I wonder what will Jester do now that there's another cleric in the group. So touching on that, what do you guys think?
So
Oh, sorry.
dig it. You go first this time.
Okay. The way I think it, I think Jester, well, actually, I think more Laura, maybe, would be more excited to play more on the trickery part of a cleric. Because I feel like you pick a cleric domain, whatever you pick, that domain, like, calls to you in some way. And being able to use the cool features of that domain is a thing that you want to do as, as a player playing a character. However you RP it, I think Laura would like to be more combat focused and cool trickery stuff focused than having to always hold back. Because if you go into a group picking a class like I'm going to be the healer, like, yeah, but like if you want to just play a character and then you end up getting stuck into a role, a lot of people like roles, and some people don't like to feel like they're being pigeonholed into a role just to, keep the group alive and keep the game going and stuff like that. And for some people, that's not the playstyle that they want. And I think when Ford and Jester come back, I think that Laura would like to maybe, and I see Jester as maybe being a little more combat focused and being like, oh, all the burden is not on me. I could still heal as, backup, or, we had 2 healers is always better. I mean, come on. But, yeah, I think Jester would be okay. It wouldn't really feel threatened. I feel like Jester and Clay would probably get along, maybe a little better than Molly and Jester. Depends.
So I agree with you on what I think I think that's gonna happen. So play devil's advocate for another way that this could go. Are you saying I can't play devil's advocate?
Oh no, I'm shaking my head at David.
Oh, damn it, David. So another way that this could go is that when they rescue Jester and Ford and possibly Yasha, who knows when Yasha's actually gonna come back. When they rescue them, they're gonna find out that one of the party members they've been traveling with is dead. And they're gonna realize that they weren't there to help him. They were caught. And there could be some guilt, especially from Jester with this. And Jester that might be a reality check for her as a cleric. That could be a reality check that'd be like, hey, if I'm gonna want to help these people, if I'm gonna want to keep giving my all to this group, I'm gonna need to learn to heal. I'm gonna need to learn to give up myself a little bit more to keep these other people alive. Now, necessarily, am I gonna see Laura necessarily playing that? I don't know, but I feel like it's another route that could possibly go instead of just the obvious one that is, oh, Laura can play offensively, Taliesin can play defensively / support. Because we all know how much Critical Role and the Critical Role cast likes to just throw curveballs at what we're expecting.
Mm-hmm.
They don't take our advice. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that, but we all, there were so many people that said Travis was going to play a Lichen in this upcoming season whenever it was between campaigns. He didn't take that because he's like, no, that's too obvious. They don't like to necessarily go the obvious route. So I am throwing out an alternate route that if it happens to go that way, I could kind of say, ha, I said so.
putting it out there now.
Yes.
Yeah, and I also think either or both of them could multi-class to get even more different, but their domains are already very different. And like you said, Jester is actually very strong. She is buff girl. She's awesome, and she's got her shield and she's got her weapons, and she has her, like you said, her trickery domain that gives her duplicity and stuff like that. I could definitely, like you guys have both said, I think I could see her being a lot more physical, if they wanted to, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think she would really fill a support niche really well, as with status effects and things like that would be just up Jester's alley.
Mm-hmm.
Kate mentions in the chat, polymorph for imp like her, amazing. Yeah, she would just, I think Jesters would shine in just a chaos role. Just mess with the battlefield and give advantage to, your teammates.
Nicholas in chat said that you don't doesn't need to multi-class. Clerics can punch the fuck out of DPS classes, and also, but cleric paladin cleric paladin of the traveler. Anyone? A nice. That could be
Maybe?
interesting. That could make her a little more buff. Cleric
I
pally.
need to learn a little bit more about Jester before I can really decide what she could possibly multi-class in. And it could also be a story-driven multi-class, kind of like what Vax did last time.
Mhm.
Wasn't expected, but it happened. And it became very important. So who knows how Laura / Jester's reaction to Molly Mock's death is going to look like.
Oh, well, I think we'll find out. Hopefully, we'll find out eventually. We've talked.
We'll never find out.
So we've talked a bit on Talis's new character and what that might mean. We've talked a little bit about what we might think the future of this whole group is now that there's this new character and whether or not he's temporary.
Wait, are we going to leave the graveyard? Because if we're going to leave the graveyard,
we should probably talk about the second half of the episode.
Okay, fine.
Well, no. So we will be moving on to the second half of the episode in this second half of our hour.
Okay.
But is there any last words before we leave the graveyard that you want to talk about?
Just go.
Okay, I'm just gonna, in general, it comes up several times, the reference to Caduceus's garden, and, there's some people being a little bit uncomfortable. They're like, oh, you're making, tea on graves? Ugh. But, here's the thing, people. You're already eating stuff that comes from decomposing stuff. That's what fertilizer is. It's either poop or it's something that's decomposing, and even sometimes when it's fertilizer, it's decomposing plants. That's not unreasonable. Decomposing animals. So I'm sorry that you have an issue with humans, but they give the ground good nitrogen, and it's delicious for plants. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited. I think it's so interesting, and I think it's fun that this character gives us the opportunity to play with this area, to question people's thoughts on oh, you're a little bit uncomfortable with death, but even Neela, the other Furbolg, was this is nature, this is natural, this is this makes sense. When you talk to people with that focus, that they're gonna tell you I love that it was the two Furbolgs, though. I do love it, it's the Furbolgs, and that was very obvious to them, that the more humanoid characters, the more humans are gonna be brought up with a different society and be like dead bodies go here, stuff goes that way. Not to be weird, but guys, have you ever noticed how healthy the trees in cemeteries are? They're super healthy. They're happy and healthy, and sometimes cemeteries have some of the most beautiful, amazing plants because it's a space that is appreciated, and I think caring for it, we get to see how much he cares for this space, and it means something to him. But just in general, I'm excited for this character where those sorts of questions are going to come up. His opinion on death and things is going to be different from a lot of other societies' views of things, and they're going to be like, oh, how can you do that? And he's going to be like, but nature. It's going to, as they were killing people, they were people, they have names, I'm so sorry. But he was like, it's okay, they're just gonna be mulch in my garden now. They should actually be a soil amendment or a compost rather than a mulch, because you don't want that decomposition to be happening on your garden, Taliesin, just for future reference, but it's super cool and okay. Anyways, yeah, Phil was gonna be mulch, and that's that's fine, but I just think it's really interesting that they're gonna get to play with this character. I think these questions are gonna come up, and I think I'm so excited for us to be forced to look at things from a different perspective, as small and silly as they might seem. I'm very excited for this character for so many reasons. And the lichens, guys, the lichens on the armor, so amazing, because that's a symbiosis and it's probably unique to the ecosystem where it comes from. I'm so excited because
just the lichens in the spell flavor.
Yeah.
When he cast to clean up the wounds.
Yes,
It was so
to
good.
do the wounds. It was like that's so amazing, and it's so interesting. And like there is a lot of there's a lot of history to that. There's a lot of Indigenous and First Nations people who used lichens for medicinal purposes. They ate them, and it's very interesting because lichens are so particularly unique. It's always a symbiosis between either a photosynthesizing bacteria and a fungus, or a algae and a fungus, but it could also be multiple. But anyways, it's it's interesting because the slightest change in what that bacteria or fungus is, the lichen can look almost identical, and it could suddenly be poisonous. And you have to know, like, he's got to know what's happening to know this. So a fungus could be, slightly more yellow from the one you always eat all the time. You're like, this is delicious, and suddenly that one's toxic. So like, it's so interesting. I'm sorry, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this character.
And that was Jess.
I'm so excited.
If you can't tell that Jess is excited about this character, then you haven't been listening for the past 5 minutes. So, the group pretty much enlists Clay. They make it. This is where their plans almost change again for a short period of time. Well, first of all, let's not talk about not deciding to test Clay's skills really quick by shooting Bo with the crossbow, which Not crits on and ends up shooting 2 arrows at Bo. For the fun of it, I don't know. I mean, it's Sam. You never know what Sam's going to do. But that was pretty fun because I liked the idea of Bo catching the first arrow and then taking the second arrow because he did crit. Yeah. We do also, I just wanted to touch on, we get a little bit of flavor with Caduceus in that his family has all kind of gone left to try and investigate what's going wrong with the spores so they can save it. And he's like the last one here, so there's that potential in the future if Caduceus is staying on. That's very interesting because I love Cursed Lands and I love that he's a cleric of the Wild Mother, which is really cool. And what's going on with this curse? And his family's trying to stop this curse because apparently they've been running this boneyard for a long time and burying the very elvish family that I can't remember the name of.
And to answer a question that Uncle Ook put in chat, is it lingering resentment towards Bo for this shot? That was also a question that you got, didn't? Correct?
That was one of the questions we did receive. Thanks to whoever sent it. No name attached again. Let us know who you are so we can thank you, please. But yeah, it was, why did not shoot Bo? Was it because of lingering resentment? Wait, was this Ook? Ook, was this your question? Over how she treated Caleb. Yeah, sorry. And what was your response you were saying, Ben? Sorry.
Hi, I'm not Matt.
I know, I'm sorry.
It's fine. So my thought was that probably not. Because don't know. So I don't think Not is one to really hold that much resentment. It wasn't that bad that there was bad resentment towards Caleb. I think honestly she's just trigger happy. And she likes to make spur of the moment decisions. She's not terribly smart or terribly wise. So she'll just kind of do things that she'll be like, "Oh, this is a good idea," boom, without even really thinking about the consequences.
Had she used that crossbow since they got it from Humperduke?
I don't think so.
Because that's also could have played in the thing, like, when you get a new thing in D&D, and the minute, whether it even makes sense in the story or not, sometimes you're so focused on, I have this new thing, I want to use it, that you just use it.
At the very least, she hadn't gotten to use the special, like, the ability it has where it shoots again when you get a crit.
Yeah.
But I think the only fight they've had since then is with Lorenzo, and she was really busy trying to pick locks. That fight, so I'm not sure if she got to use it that time. But like you both said, I really view it more as a mix of her wanting to test her new toy, a mix of her, I actually think it might be a mix of her being suspicious of the new person that claims they can heal when they lost their person who could heal. Be like, wait, you have to prove to us that you can do this healing thing that you said you can do. Otherwise, why would we bring you along? Type thing. But also it being that with Jester and Yashagon, I feel like not looked around the group and was like, I have no one beefy to test this on. So like it goes to Bo, the most meleeist. Is that, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. It's an interesting thought, but I honestly think it was just a Sam/not spur of the moment decision.
Never knows.
mhm.
So, we'll sort of fast forward to they decide kind of after Clay and they leaving Clay and getting Clay to come with them. They decide they're going to take one more swing past, and like you don't expect them that they're going to attack. They just want to take one more swing past and get another scouting round in. And then even with Pass Without a Trace, they have a little bit of a fumble again. You know, when you have a plate armor wear in your group, you're never getting very far when it comes to stealth. So they do a bad stealth. They pop up. Oh my gosh. Frumpkin is the name I was looking for. As an owl again, the guard takes a shot, and Frumpkin manages to survive with 1 hit point.
That part was so hilarious. Like I was like rolling in my seat laughing.
Yeah, I
Good.
loved it. It was just like a sitcom where you have those extras that are just like,
Yeah.
Hey Phil!
Phil!
I love, like, also you got a flavor for whatever this forest is, because he's like, I hate this forest.
I hate this fucking forest. Yeah.
And especially because there's like, and then later when they infiltrate with the spider, it's like a spider that won't die. Like, what the hell?
What are they thinking of this area? Like, what are these?
Yeah. So it turns out,
These city kids.
so it sort of switches. Their plan kind of just goes straight into action from that moment on, where they acting like they just wanted to do a recon, and then they end up planning out a pretty good plan for covering both sides of the building, using some fireworks as a distraction. Liam gets redeemed in the beginning, way at the beginning, when they talk about, well, we could possibly like infiltrate with the spider, and everyone laughs at him. And then this spider does a really good job of getting a whole idea of what's going on in there, how many people are in there, and then guiding Not in there for quite a while before, you know, once again, Not as a rogue, you just expect some things that just don't work. Or Not, especially Sam in this role, or in this episode, just the roles were not in Not's favor. Boy, having Not as a name is really fun.
On purpose for sure.
100%. And so, like, me as just like a personal thing, Sam does that thing where he just drops the dice. And it like, I'm like, Sam, just put some more English on it maybe, but like, that's just personal preference. And I remember yesterday we were in my D&D group and we kind of got sidetracked. I'm like, is there like an optimal way to roll dice? If you shake it too much, is that bad? Like, we had a little bit of a chat in that, because I'm like, he just, everyone's seen him. He just goes bloop, bloop, and sometimes I wonder if he just picks up a 1 and drops it and doesn't ever, you know. Sorry, that's just my tangent. But we get a decent infiltration from the group. Is there anything? I mean, there's the one thing that worked out really well in their favor, and this is why I will always stand by as a bard. My favorite spell ever, always, will be Tasha's Hideous Laughter. But if you guys want to talk about anything that happened inside this that you liked, I thought hasting Keg, from a wizard standpoint, as me being a wizard, hasting Keg and the Tasha's Hideous Laughter was key in getting someone who could be a really bad potential problem. And I mean, we found out that I don't remember the barbarian's name, but she was carrying Yasha's sword, which was a unfortunate play in that it did the spell on Keg with the haste, but we did get that nice smashing of which really helped in their favor. But yeah, so if you guys want to talk about
I was just
anything.
gonna say that was the only thing for me was the sword. Like you said, I thought it was. I love Tasha's Hideous Laughter. That's one spell that my wizard has always had too. I love it. I'm glad it worked. Haste, like you said, I think they've been using that well, and to their advantage. And it was interesting to see them get upset, but be like, we're gonna have a discussion about these rules that exist, Matt. Like, completely separating it from Matt being like, this isn't you, but I am frustrated with this spell, and that when it wears off, my target is tired, right? But like you said, I loved the moment when it was revealed that previously the barbarian had been holding this weapon, but now they have this amazing, beautiful great sword, and it is in fact what was it, the Magician's Bane?
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, that she had that sword and she did in fact get to use it for its magical ability. I was very excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole plan to infiltrate worked out really good. It's nice that furbolgs have the quick, easy, cost-free disguise self, because Clay did disguise himself as a guard. Aside from the lockpicking issues with Not.
Magician's Judge. Thank you, Metadoxy.
Thank you, Metadoxy.
Overall, I feel that they did a great job, like Dusty said, with getting into it and really getting pretty far before things started to go bad. But even when things went bad, if you look at the outcome of what happened, they separated one of the Iron Shepherds from the rest and took them out. That's a big key in playing for this next upcoming battle, that they now don't have a barbarian. Barbarians are huge tanks in this thing that can just keep going and especially target those that are spellcasting just by running past everybody else.
Well, yeah, like even that episode where they were fighting the Iron Shepherds and that barbarian started running straight over towards Caleb, I was freaking out because wizards can't take hits.
So smush.
And put a barbarian in front of a wizard, you're not getting out of that. Like,
yeah.
So they had a fairly decent infiltration. We did get a nice more recon with Liam using Frumpkin as a spider, to find out that we kind of don't know where Lorenzo is. But my whole thing is, like, we don't know where Lorenzo is. He could be in town, sure. But also, we know that the people down below where they're about to infiltrate, and this is like where I'd like to take a chance on like how we see this going forward, which we'll find out in the live show, but they know they're there now. We know that place is trapped because they did trigger one of those traps. Neela did find her Neela did find her family and was able to get them out, which was, oh my god, that I don't know if anyone wants to touch on that heartbreaking moment, but
I was going to
take it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So first of all, Neela is love her. She's wonderful, and I was really hoping that that she would have one more episode. I was really hoping she could stay and use that lightning that she never got to use to really fry those Iron Shepherds to a crisp. She never got to do that. However, she got reunited with her mate and her son, which was big, and it was the perfect opportunity to really exit her from this because Sumali is not going to be here next episode. Not going to be here on this live episode, which is another thing I want to talk about, the fact that it's a live episode. But it was the perfect way to get her out of the situation without having Matt or one of the other players, Nieger, a character that they really don't know how she would play. So finding that at that exact time was perfect. A couple of things that come out of it was a really heartbreaking moment. It was really touching, and I loved it. Another question is, if those two are like if her mate and her son were there, where's the rest of the Mighty Nein? With like,
they're under heavier protection. I think they're in that.
okay.
Because that room kind of zigged and zagged, and then there was the two kind of keeping guard. I think whatever that last couple rooms are, like that's where we don't know how many people the Iron Shepherd actually have kidnapped.
Have food, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel they're.
Oh, sorry, you can finish.
Well, that's also, but where I would be as a DM, Lorenzo being the threat that he is, would be just sitting there waiting for when they came in, having someone that they really care about in the verge of death. If you sorry language, but if you mess with me, I knew you were here. Oh, by the way, do you like this person? Blah, I'm gonna kill him again. But I'm evil apparently.
Yeah. So another thing is, when they're going into this live show, and they're about to do a big battle. They're missing Ashley, they're missing Jester. Well, they're missing Ashley, Laura, and Travis. They're gonna have Ashley Birch, but it's gonna be a weird live show with different than most of the other ones because the normal cast isn't there. Basically half the normal cast isn't there, and it's also going right into a huge fight. They don't have really time to rest at this point. So there's a lot at stake for Matt as a DM, that this isn't being played in front of 10, 11 people, where some of them are camera crew and some of them are the players. No, this is being played in front of a lot of people, where a TPK, which Dustin said was his biggest fear.
But Matt's not what Matt always is one to just go with the dice. I don't think.
Correct.
I don't think a live show would prevent him from
TVKing if it's so.
And that was my next point, was that I saw somebody in the chat earlier say oh, he's not going to TPK because they're at a live show. I don't think that's true. I think that he's literally going to see where the dice fall, because he's very impartial. He's for the players in his heart, but in his mind, if the dice aren't for the players, he's not going to just try to change that. And there's a lot at stake at this upcoming battle, and the fact that Neela isn't going to be there is kind of sad.
This fits into another one of the questions we received. So this one did have a name on it, and that name was Dimebag. So thanks, Dimebag, for this question. Do you think that Laura and Travis will make a surprise appearance at Gen Con once the party kills Lawrence, aka Larkin, aka Lorenzo, and rescues Ford and Jester?
I don't know.
I don't think they're leaving little Ronan anytime soon. Or yeah, and they definitely wouldn't be traveling with Ronan. Now I think that they're. I don't expect to see them at the live show. I mean, I could be proven wrong, but I think that they'll probably be here, and that'll just be. I mean, we don't even know if they're in there.
That's another point, though. The only evidence that we've seen that they're actually there is Yasha's sword.
Yeah.
So they could still be on a wild goose chase after this. Who knows? And it comes to a point where, if say that they're not in there, when do you just say we don't have any more leads, but we need to get back and complete this mission that we were assigned? They show up with half their party missing, one of them dead. They show up with 3 out of the original 7. What do you do at that point?
I mean, I don't think the gentleman really gives as long as his work is done. I don't think he cares about that at all. But I also think that for the upcoming episode, that Neela set us up for the possibility of other people to come in and help them, because she did name off, she's like, these are the other Furbolg they took from our party, and she even specified this one was a great warrior. So I feel like she / Matt, chatted together on that about, the world. to make that an option for them if they want to pursue that. That's another possible person to maybe help their party, so long as they're not broken yet.
Well, then that leads into an interesting point, if you don't mind me interrupting you.
Yeah, go.
That they will be at Gen Con, where other people who are big in role-playing games are there. Do you think maybe there will be a special guest that hasn't been announced that could play someone who they free? Like, I mean, well, we don't know, but I mean, there is that opportunity where they don't have that many people, but, you know.
David in chat started to write that. He was like, oh, I have an idea. The furbug nearly mentioned. Oh, Dustin's saying it right now. But also, sorry, I love, I was just saying, like, I don't think the gentleman cares, but David pointed out, or Ruzgofti in chat, I should say, that the gentleman has their blood. He could assist them in tracking them down. Mm-hmm. So that's actually a good point, that should they go to finish this mission, they can have that assistance.
Also, we did get a little bit of like dialogue from Not herself when she said, I don't care about the gentleman, you know, like, I don't care about this, like, I just, you know.
But that blood and that tracking ability gives them a reason, even Not, who's like, my only concern now is finding my friends. Well, when you get to a dead end and it turns out returning to finish your mission gives you, like, because you're gonna, if you want that tracking ability, you have to stay on the good gentleman's good side. So you better have goddamn finished that mission, come back to him, be like, here, we did everything you want, now tell us where our friends are. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of people are now putting theories in chat who they think the guest could be at Gen Con. Guys, I love you.
It would be fun if they had a special guest. I mean, live shows always tend to be a little more exciting.
You've attended one.
Well, I have, but in content-wise, streaming to watch it is always sometimes a little bit of a trouble, audio-wise. But it always, I mean, I look at the last live show. We had, was that the last one with the cube and lots of fun, exciting things? No, that was Vox Machina. Never mind. Oh my God! Like, when was the last live show?
We
haven't had a live show for the Mighty Nein.
Correct.
Feels like it was so long ago, but I think that was just a year ago.
That's pretty long ago. So yeah, there's a lot of at stake leading into this next episode, and the fact that it's a live show will be ramping up the excitement anymore. Every role is going to be cheered or.
Well, yeah, and it's going to be interesting too, because we have this narrow area where we know there's prisoners, but then they also know that they're coming, and we know that it's trapped, and we don't know where Lorenzo is. We don't know, like, yeah, this is a very perfect live episode because so much is at stake and so much unknown is happening. Is there anything else about this episode that you guys want to talk about? Or
we had one last question.
Oh, okay.
So if we're nearing the end, I do want to ask it, and this one came from King Sundu, who is regularly in chat but is not here today. So thank you, King Sundu, for this question. So we got a taste of a cursed land now. How likely will it be that Matt will use that flavor to set up the end game, and what form do you think it will take? Like how he set up the pyramids in campaign 1. So I guess, do you think this whole cursed land thing is our new ziggurat, is our new black hole situation? Like, do you think it's leading up to something like that?
It'd be interesting to see what that is. I feel, personally, that whatever's happening in Xhorhas is kind of the big thing that Matt has planned for whatever this campaign will end in. I feel like that big threatening, like, whatever is going on over there is the thing.
But that did sound a bit cursed landy too, though, didn't it?
It did.
A little
and
bit.
So, like, I'm very interesting to see what that cursed land by Shady Creek Run is all about, because definitely with Taliesin's character, their family is tied greatly into stopping it, because he did mention that his family has all slowly left to try and figure out what's going on, and maybe I can go and leave and try and figure out what's going on. So even if that's like a little side story thing, you know how Matt has his threads everywhere, that may tie into something bigger. But I feel like the cursed land, as King Sundu said, is sort of like the thing, but like I think it's more of the Empire and Jorhas, and like I want to know like who's the real bad guy. That's the fun thing I like about this whole Wildmount campaign.
Hmm. And it's also interesting because we don't want to forget about the whole tower attack with the cube that they've just been carrying around. There's a whole plot thread that they really didn't follow all that thoroughly because they really wanted this cube. They really wanted this dodecahedron. I mean, not the cube. I got shapes are hard, but
It's hard not to think about Sam's cube. It's fine.
yeah. Oh, damn it! Fuck. uh, you're the worst. But I lost my train of thought. Dodecahedron. So they didn't really get to see the whole reasoning behind everything. Sure, they wanted to go save their land, but there's probably a lot more to just this tower attack to get this dodecahedron that they've been just carrying around. And I want to see more with that. I think that there's going to be some major plot devices that could be used with this dodecahedron that they're just carrying around. So that's my thought on it.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree. I'm interested in the curse. I'm wondering if it's connected to Jorhas or if it's its own thing. Or if it's related to, all the different weird creatures we've been seeing. I think there's a lot of like bigger picture things that like when we get further along, we'll be like, oh crap, this connects to this, connects to this, connects to this, connects to this. All together. Thanks, Mercer. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we also know that like up in this region before to take this switch in the paths to go to Shady Creek Run, they could have head to Nugvarot, which is where people are or kids are disappearing. Is that the Iron Shepherds, or is that something more sinister? And also we have this thing like they're doing this job for Ophelia, and they have the threat of the gentleman if they don't complete this the right way. But also, it's just so interesting. Like, what if they had? Where would they have been going if they were with the military? If they take that contract? Like, anyway, this episode ended in a wonderful place, and it'll be fun to see the live show on Friday.
Yeah.
Very excited.
So if you are going to Gen Con, if you're listening to this and you're going to be at Gen Con for this, first of all, have a lot of fun. Representing Critical ReRoll at Gen Con, we'll have our own Matt Abernathy that's going to be there. And I don't remember, is Herc going to be there as well? I feel like he makes it to everything, so.
Yeah, Herc goes to so many cons.
He's a professional con goer.
I don't
know if he is going or not, though.
So if you listen to this podcast and you enjoy what we do, go find Matt or Herc and give them a thanks because they're awesome people. And other than that, Dustin?
No, the one thing I did want to talk about really quick. I don't know if anyone paid attention to the minis for Neela and Caduceus, but those definitely look like custom non-Hero Forge minis, and I do believe that they looked like a lot like the character art. So it's really cool that, especially Matt made the comment about how Taliesin's mini was too big for the map, and I wonder if they had special from the place. I think it's Steamforge that's doing the Kickstarter. I wonder if they made just some special replicas for Taliesin's new character and Neela, because that didn't look like any like a Hero Forge made thing, because they were huge and they had special weapons that don't exist in the repertoire. Anyway, I just nerded out a little bit over those minis. Also, the color palette for Caduceus is
oh, it's so good. Oh my god. And just that, like, the one long sleeve, as he described it, I was like, I don't get it. But then when I saw the art piece, I was like, oh, it's so pretty. It looks like spider webs or something.
I didn't get it either. Like, why? But then when you see the art.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. I'm in love. Guys.
But yeah, that was that was episode 28 of Critical Role.
Campaign 2.
Yeah.
two.
As a reminder, and something that Resgi G of D.
Rizgofty.
That's David.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Put in chat that Critical Role Live will be 1 hour earlier than normal.
And on a Friday.
And on
a
Friday, not
Friday.
Thursday.
So be aware that if you go on Thursday, you're not going to see anything. So remember, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Friday. That will be when the live show is.
Yerp.
So yeah, thank you, chat, for participating. Thank you for the questions. Please feel free to watch or check out the Critical ReRoll Twitter. Look at that forum. We made that forum so that you could post questions without tweeting them and worrying about spoiling other people, so you could be as spoilery as you want to. Send those to us. We look at them. We kind of build the show a little bit around some of those questions, and it's nice to have your participation.
Mm-hmm.
So with that,
please add your name if you don't mind, because like if you want, because I like thanking people, and when there isn't someone to thank, I'm like, I'm so sorry that I don't.
She's Canadian. She needs to thank people.
I need to thank you, and now I'm sorry so much.
Because
and we might be changing the documents so that there is a specified place for the name.
Yeah.
If you want to, like I know some people want to be anonymous and things like that.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. It's totally optional.
Every Canadian does have a certain quota of thank yous that they have to get out, government issued. So if Jess doesn't get that, then she's in trouble. She will lose her syrup rations or something like that.
No maple syrup for you today. The moose mail comes by, none for you. My igloo is so sad and empty.
Oh my!
And with that, thank you for watching episode 20 or episode 104 of episode 28 of Critical ReRoll Season 2. I have been Dustin. I almost said @GoJG, but that is not my Twitter. I'm Dustin
me!
@GeoNerd. Anyone else want to say who they were?
Oh, sorry. I'm Jess. I'm @go_JG on Twitter and Twitch and most places. So that's my thing. Yeah.
And I'm Ben /Bardic Puppy on Twitter, and I still can't come up with funny outros either.
All right, look at her. She knows.
I was gonna say you both have puppies because Ben had a dog just leave the room.
She knows that we're ending soon. She's like, oh, it's time to walk. Oh no, don't jump up on me.
Goodbye, everybody.
Anyway, goodbye, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Oh, I closed the music. Shoot. Bum 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 bum.
Wait, wrong song.
Bum bum bum.
Wait, no.